So yes, I do practice hypnosis. I'm qualified in it. Will I be carrying that out today?
Yes.
Yes.
Nice.
You'll know under my spell.
Hello and welcome to the Gym Owners Forum podcast. This week we have a less industry focused one and more of a business focused one, which I think is definitely necessary. I think I commonly say that people get into the industry because it's a passion, and that is fantastic. And we should keep doing that because it's a passion for all of us, staying fit and healthy. But it's a business and we can't forget that at the end of the day. So today's guest, James, thank you very much for joining us on the show today. If you could just start by maybe telling us a little bit about yourself, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, certainly. So my name is James Knight. I'm also known as JK or Coach J, as most people know me. I'm an actual member of the Fit Club, which is what brought me here today. And I also live local. I've got a long history in coaching and training. Started off life as studying a degree in computer science. And then 10 years later, I actually studied for a degree in leadership and management. And most people would ask, well, how do you fit leadership and management together with IT? Well, they both work hand in hand, because when I was working in IT, it's about working with people and understanding people's needs, what they want and what they need to do to be successful. So in terms of IT, my job is to make sure that people were successful in what they do in everyday business. 10 years later, that I wanted to understand people as well as IT. So I studied leadership and management, combine the two. And then since then, over the last 15 or 20 years, I've studied and gained qualifications in coaching, leadership, sales, IT training, systems training, network infrastructure training, life coaching, and hypnotherapy.
Okay.
No, people always say to me, hypnotherapy, can you hypnotize me? The answer is yes, but no. Yes, but no. And what I mean by that is that it's a very touchy subject. Hypnotherapy is in that we have to be very careful on how we use hypnosis in business, especially in sales and environments such as the gym, because of how people react depends on their outcomes, which means that I'm liable for that. So yes, I do practice hypnosis. I'm qualified in it. Will I be carrying that out today?
Yes.
Yes. You'll know under my spell. But what you will hear from me, folks, and even the folks out there, is you will hear me use hypnotic language in the things that I do. And we use this in business and in sales. And that is internal language and external language. Things like, how do you feel about that? What do you think about that? This is internal language that we use to get people to really think about a situation.
Look at me as well.
Yeah.
I don't want you hypnotizing them.
So just think about the things that they're doing, the impact and the outcomes, and visualize that. And, so getting them to think about it. So an external language would be like, what do you feel about that? Again, what do you feel is an internal language, but getting somebody to think about, well, do I really like it? Do I not really like it? Closed language. So we want people to really think about that. So you'll hear me use this type of language quite a lot: internal, past, present, and future language.
What immediately came to the mind, because obviously I think hypnosis, I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. You're saving it. But I think hypnosis for some people may seem like in the movies where it is that kind of waving the thing. But my mind kind of goes to the movie Focus. I don't know if you've seen that. Will Smith and Margot Robbie. Is it like, the scene where they get the guy at the American football game to suggestively bet millions and then they trick him?
Yeah, the power of persuasion or also suggestion takes time. It's planting or seeding specific words so that people remember words or numbers. So they're getting used to understand that. So when it actually becomes to the moment where you want them to actually do something you need to do, you've already prepared them. I was going to say groomed, but I don't think that's the right word to use. So we won't use that. So we cut that out. So we've actually prepared them for that moment, and that does take time. And this comes with anything in life, doesn't it? You think about where we were and where we are. We've had to train and prepare for that. So train maybe physically to get to that outcome, or train mentally to get to that outcome. And that means doing things again and again and again, repeating things again and again and again. And what we do in coaching, or using NLP techniques, which is neuro-linguistic programming, or hypnosis, or forms of hypnotic languages, to place certain words in the language to help and guide you to more positive outcomes to achieve and be successful. So getting you where you need to be. In business, this could be achieving your target, your KPIs, earning the figure, the sum of money that you want to earn that you didn't earn last year and couldn't figure out how to get there, getting you over those hurdles. In the gym, it could be helping you to think more about the quality of the training. What do you actually want to train? What areas? What would that look like if you did that in a different way? So it's getting people to think differently and visualize the outcome.
So it's funny, actually. We had another guy on the podcast called Phil Lerney, and he spoke about visualization. And I think when people say like manifestation, I feel like that's quite a similar sense. It's if you can believe it, you can do it, I think is the saying. And in terms of visualizing, in terms of achieving those goals, what are some kind of strategies, or where's a good starting point for people to actually kind of get there?
I will always say to you and anybody out there is to start here now and think about in 360 degrees, look around you and think about, where am I? What do I look like? What do I feel like? What have I got? And think about that in the most positive way. You use all the senses to actually visualize and experience in complete awareness your now. Not many people can actually visualize their now and explain that to you. Where am I? Why am I here? What does it feel like? Think about where you were on your yesterday. And that's your journey. You plan your journey and think, right, okay, where do I need to be in a week? We call this timelines, or so we're creating a timeline now, or a journey in business. So you think about, where do I need to be in the next 5 days, 10 days, 4 weeks even. And then what you'll do is that you'll plan or map that journey and think about the outcome at the end of it. In 4 weeks' time, if I followed my journey, crafted my journey, and actually got there and looked back at myself, what does that journey look like? What would I say to me now when I've got there, how to get there?
I think it is really interesting, and it can be quite hard. I think sometimes as just someone that works in a business and someone that has a job, you can set those goals sometimes and you feel like they're pretty realistic, and then you don't achieve it. I mean, and then kind of you maybe get to the point where you just feel like you've completely messed up your entire timeline and you have to restart. So, I mean, is there a way of kind of maybe keeping it realistic? Also, do you branch out on decisions?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we've got to think about keeping it simple. That's why you set small goals. If you're saying to me, listen, I want to achieve something in 4 weeks. Okay, I've got a target to meet and I've got to do these sales and I really need to do this by the end of the month. It's all right. Okay, well, let's look at your daily routine. Let's map and plan your day. How are you going to do this? What's likely to prevent you from doing this? Yeah. What would happen, or how would you feel if you didn't achieve it? What's the outcome on you emotionally? How are you going to change that feeling so that you become more positive and do it differently the next day? Do you write it down?
Yeah.
How do you think about achievement? How do you think about success? How do you think about the things that you didn't achieve? And I won't use the word failure, because I'll never use the word failure. We don't fail. What we do is we just didn't do what we were set out to do. And then the next day we do it differently. So you're always celebrating your mindset, but also managing it and encouraging it to do slightly better. But you've got to set your goals. You've got to set it and then look back and go, did I achieve my to-do list? If I didn't, why? Am I doing too much? Because we've all got a comfort zone. Can we step out of that, go that little bit further? So you've got to manage it daily.
Yeah. And I think self-reflection and like it is that kind of looking inside, looking 360 is so important. Where I think it's kind of a hypothetical question that doesn't really have an answer, but I'd be interested to hear your opinion in terms of how is it, what's the impact of not self-reflecting, of still having those goals, but not necessarily looking back, and maybe what causes that? Is it a lack of motivation or?
Yeah. I think there's a saying, isn't it? If you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail.
Okay.
Yeah, we all know this one. And some people may laugh and go, it doesn't really work, does it? Well, it does, doesn't it? Because if you don't plan, then how do you know what it is that you want to do? How do you know what you're really looking for in terms of success? You need to understand what it is you want. It's okay me sitting here and say, yeah, I'll do this for you because that's what you want. But what do I want? And then I have to sit there and think, okay, is it realistic? Can I achieve this? And that's where you're being honest with yourself. You really need to be honest with yourself and think, is this something I can do? If it isn't, who can support me to get me where I need to be? You need a good support mechanism around you. And is it something that I understand? You've got to understand what it is that you want to achieve and what it is that you want me to achieve, because it's my goal. It could be your goal. Only you know if you can achieve it. So mapping out your journey, reflection every day is highly important. You've got to look back and think to yourself, have I achieved what I want to achieve? And was it realistic? What could I do different?
I think, I mean, I did smile because it was almost like you were plugging the Gym Owners Forum, because it's that like free support network. It's like use the things around you. And I think I know you're saying like it's your plan and you should plan it out, but obviously there's no reason why some of those steps can't just be get someone else to do it or get some advice or get help. And I think it's not necessarily I think it's 100% not something that you should do alone. I think it's something that actually you and someone else, or you should get support from to help you plan this journey out. And I think,
of course.
I mean, putting it in the context of gym ownership, I think it is that passion. And, you know, I want to have a 2,000 member gym. I want to have a 1,000 member gym. And that's a goal for sure. But it's actually like, what are you doing in the steps to get there? And do you know everything you know? And I think the software question you raised is like, do we know the software that we're using? You need to be 100% certain of capabilities and the thing that you're using. And I know that is something that you do, which is backed by your computer science degree. I'd like to know more about any kind of anecdotes or any kind of things that you know where the software has actually been the kind of key to someone's success.
Yeah, of course. So in this industry, the fitness industry, we would say, and especially for gym owners, it's you understand what you understand, and you're going into a business where you're going to be able to help people develop their bodies, maybe their mindset. But behind all of that, we've got this huge business model that's going to map those journeys, manage those journeys of those people, even analyze their weaknesses and their strengths so that we can look at the future and think, how can we change this? How can we change the face of the business? How can we really project us into the future and ensure that 2,000 people, if you've got 2,000 members, how can we ensure that 2,000 people are working to success and 2,000 people are going to come back next year, maybe tell somebody else and turn 2,000 into 4,000. And that all comes back to the people you're surrounded by. So that comes down to the gym owners, the support mechanism we've got from the Gym Owners Forum, for example.
Nice plug.
You know, and even down to the whole of the management system we've got in the back. We haven't just got you or I or anybody else that sits there, maybe behind a camera or behind a reception. We've got everybody that we can ask, how do you feel about what you're doing? What would you like to do differently? And by asking those simple questions and making notes of it, we can learn from that. It's like a human AI system, isn't it? It's learned behavior. We make a note of it. Brilliant. How do we apply that now? We go back, we make a note on our systems that we've got in the background that manages, you know, our subscribers, not just subscribers, people that come to our gyms. That's all of us, you know, throughout the country. Be part of the family. How do we nurture our family? How do we look after them? How do we make sure that they're working well? And these systems are there to help us support that. So if you can understand not just the people in front of you, not just equipment that they work on, but the systems that manage that, ERP systems that manage the business, CRM systems that manage the subscribers, the members, these systems, when they work together, are like two great people who have a conversation that makes sense. They're like your parents. These systems look after you. The systems in the background that members don't see. When you walk through reception, you've got that computer, and they're tapping away. These are the systems. These are the digital brain of the system that enables you not just to enter into a gym, but maps your journey, looks after you, looks after your payments. It focuses on the future. And these systems, if you can understand the system that's in front of you, it's going to make not only your job easier, but it's going to enable you to process people a lot quicker and, excuse me, manage them easier in the gym. And if you can understand the system, you'll understand the people. If you can understand the people, you'll understand how to progress the gym, build the gym, improve the gym.
I think it's understanding the capabilities of it as well. Because if you know your boundaries and you know what your limits are, then actually you don't overextend or overpromise, or you allow yourself to focus on building that niche or building the direction that you want to go in. Yeah, as I say, within your limits. And the hypnotic language has really tickled me. I find that very interesting because it is a thing, and it does sound a bit silly, but actually, like, it's so blatantly every single day. You see it in every single movie you watch about Wolf of Wall Street. It all is hypnotizing people.
Airplane is where they started it. Yeah.
Yeah. What's that? Sorry.
Is it the film Airplane?
Oh, is that really the first movie where hypnotism was in?
Yeah, where they use hypnotic language. If you look at those, Airplane 1, Airplane 2, forget the guy's name with the white hair.
Leslie
Nielsen.
Leslie Nielsen.
That was it. If you watch those, when we trained in coaching NLP techniques and hypnotic language, we were asked to watch those films. Focus is a film that I haven't actually watched yet, but it's in my list of those to watch. Yeah. Okay. So you'll notice that, especially in Airplane, they use specific language patterns. And those language patterns first started there, and then they were used in other films.
Okay.
So when you hear them, now you know them, you'll hear them.
That's very interesting, actually. I mean, you'd think of all movies, Airplane probably wasn't the one that was...
it's the most common one that was used for hypnotic language back in the day.
That's very interesting. So, I mean, on the subject of that, in terms of business and maybe a gym owner's relationship with their members, I think something that we've touched on quite a bit is upselling. And actually, like, you've touched on a little bit in terms of actually, if you're making them feel good about themselves and making them come back, then that's a form of upselling, I suppose. But how can you kind of upsell to people and be more suggestive to people on a kind of day-to-day quick fire basis, I guess? Is there a way of doing it, I guess?
It's interesting because as humans, especially now, we upselling's happening in everything that we do, isn't it? Every single thing. Everywhere we go, they're trying to upsell you. You go to Costa, sell. Even the sugar. They're trying to sell the sugar now, which is quite bizarre. And so in a gym, how does that happen? How does that happen in a gym? And it's like, you can use things. We use language like amazing. You know, if you've attended to the gym today and you're looking, firstly, thank somebody for being there. Make it an honor that they've actually walked into your gym, because it makes them feel welcome, and it can bring down, thank you so much. Shake the hand. Like if you can do that, shake the hand and thank them for attending the gym. How many people actually do that? Do you actually shake someone's hand or thank them for coming to the gym? Thank you, coming for the gym. And then ask them, what is it they want? Use great words like, that's amazing. How do you feel about that? I want to come to the gym because I want to improve my health. I've now turned that on you. It's amazing. I love the fact that you're here. How do you feel? Now you're going to explain why you're there and your journey. So you're doing, it's the 80-20 rule, if you remember the 80-20 rule, Pareto law. It's getting them to do 80% of the work. All you're doing is using the language patterns to allow them to express themselves internally, the internal language. How do you feel about that? And you could even use the hand to guide towards the equipment. How do you feel about that? So that you're guiding their eyes to the equipment, so they're looking into the gym and almost feeling, before they subscribe to you, if that's the right word to use, bought into the family. Yeah, because everybody in the gym is part of the family, that they're already there, pointing to the equipment. How do you feel about that? Which particular type of equipment would you see yourself on that's going to help you get where you need to be? So these are conversations that you can have where you're already upselling. You're selling the gym to them, but you're selling their journey that they've already got in their mind to them and making it more real, because now they're thinking about, actually that piece of equipment there could do this for me. That could do that for me. So that subscription that they pay for at the end of the month is helping them achieve their goal.
This That's very interesting, actually. It reminds me of the Pareto 80-20 rule. God, so we found out that so obviously you remember at the Fit Club, and Drew had sort of mentioned that we should chat, and it turns out we both met through Pareto. We've been part of Pareto. You were slightly more advanced than I was. You were a coach, and I was just a young student. But I think it's very true. Getting them to do 80% of the work, and I think it links quite nicely to a study that I was reading about where they had two groups of people, they had two variables, and they got a group of people to go talk to each of the variables, and then they were asked to rate which one was more interesting. And one of the people spoke about themselves, and the other just asked a load of questions about the other person and got them to talk about themselves. And every single person came out and said, I found that person way more interesting, because I found the person that was asking questions about me way more interesting. And I think that links perfectly to the 80-20, because actually they're just asking questions and then the other person's just talking and talking. And it's like, I guess that's a form of hypnotism, I suppose. No,
we have to be very careful how we say that, because if somebody walks away and especially if they hear this and say, am I being hypnotized? When I walk into a gym.
I've been questioning it.
Yeah. So we've got to be careful on what we don't want is people thinking they've been hypnotized to buy into a product, because many, many years ago, I can't say which utility company it was, but we were using NLP techniques on door-to-door sales. And there was one particular company that were having advanced NLP training when they were knocking doors. And that company were then not shut down, but the way in which they were training their staff was shut down. So what I'm saying to you is that I can't talk too much about that.
No, fair enough.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Because then it opens up other doors. Or what I can say to you is we have to be very, very careful on how we share information.
I think there's just an element of, to be honest, it can be used in a very nefarious way.
Yeah.
And there's obviously, but I think there is just a sense of like, actually, it's how can we learn about what people want? And Easy. It is just by asking questions.
We ask questions. And when we first met online, I asked you quite a lot of questions, didn't I?
Yes.
He said, thank you, Copper.
He's so interesting.
Yeah, I asked you quite a lot of questions. And it's important because if you imagine as a member, when I joined Fit Club, I did visit every gym. And I'm sure that some will do that and some won't. They'll just pop in. And you don't know what you're looking for. And until you feel it, and it's a feeling that you get that then you join, and it's that feeling of achievement. I can get what I want here, and most people don't know what they want to achieve because it takes them so long to get there. So when it comes to being part of a gym, it's what do you want? What do you really want? And when you're doing sales, you ask those questions. It's called chunking or crunching down, funneling. What do you want? You'll tell me what you want, but that's not what you really want. What you really, really want. So specifically, you got that, didn't you?
That took me far too long.
Yeah, took you. So it's like, what do you really want from this? So now I've opened up the question a little bit more. What do you really want from this? So now you'll tell me a little bit more. Okay, when you've got that, what does that want look like? So now I'm on my third question. So now you're really thinking about what you want. If you think about it, how much is the average gym membership now per month? £30?
Well, I'd say a lot more than that, to be honest. It depends where you're going to. If you're just talking gym membership, I'd say that's ballpark.
Okay, ballpark. If you're £30, you that's £1 a day. You can't buy parking for £1 a day. Okay, you can't buy a coffee for £1 a day. You can't buy a cake for £1 a day. What can you buy for £1 a day?
Not a fat lot, to be honest.
Gym membership.
Well, okay, yeah, fair.
Gym membership. That's what you can buy for £1 a day, a minimum £1 a day. And if you think about this, that £1 a day can change your life. How you focus that pound into something. You could turn that pound into something that's worth so much more than £1 simply by focusing your energy on what do I want from my £1? Yeah. Even if you get into a sauna for 7 minutes, that's 7 minutes of an amazing wellness experience that can change you. You can buy that experience at the Fit Club.
You can buy that for £1 a day as well.
So for £1, it's like when somebody says to me, you can change your life for £1, and people go, no, you can't. You can.
Yeah.
At Fit Club, I see that happening all the time. It changed my life. it really did. It changed everything for me. My mindset changed, my health changed. I lost 2 stone. I shredded. No, I didn't lose it. I didn't need to find it. I shredded 2 stone. I reversed diabetes simply by, being on a nutrition plan, a diet plan with the trainers, understanding the gym. And all that came about as being part of the gym. So when it comes to upselling, how do we upsell? We talk to people. We ask people, what do you want to achieve? And that was the question that was asked to me. And I said, I don't know. And the moment somebody says they don't know, it's because they're asking you indirectly for support.
That experience I think is actually a really important one because
yeah.
the impact, as you say, it's had in your life is fantastic. And there's that one kind of butterfly effect moment where something's changed and something's gone right, and then it's led on to all this. So what was it about that experience? And if you could probably kind of walk us through it a little bit as to why you feel the way you do right now.
It's simply asking the right questions. It's a feeling of connection with the gym. So imagine, let's look at the customer journey when you travel to your gym. We drive, walk, or cycle to our gym, wherever that comes from, and that journey can impact what it's going to feel like when we get there. So if I drive there, the drive's pleasant. It's free parking. That is absolutely amazing because it's unheard of in the area where the gym is. Having the ability to park for free for 3 hours, that's free parking for 3 hours, is a win. Because 3 hours is probably about £4. So you're saving yourself £4 every day. Okay, so already 714 to around £28 a week in parking, saving in parkings. That's your gym membership.
Yeah,
covered for a start. If I don't stay in the gym, I can go for a walk around the town. So that journey already is immensely pleasant. I'm excited by that. So let's say for gyms that don't have the luxury of that, let's look at the other journey. You enter into the gym, you're presented with great staff. Hello, how are you? That's a great welcome to walk into the gym, that you're acknowledged, recognized. Some people may walk into the gym with their headphones on and not notice that, but the majority, I've sat by and watched the majority walk in, even if it's a nod. How you doing? It's acknowledgement. That's like saying, thank you for being a member of our gym.
It does make you feel good as well.
It's fantastic.
It's
as humans, we want to be acknowledged. We want to be seen. We're not just a national insurance number or a digital ID card. We are human beings, and we've joined that gym to be acknowledged. And when somebody says, "Hi, James, how are you?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm great, thanks." If I talk, I'll stay and talk. If I need to train, I'll go and train. But it's that connection with the gym that's important. And for me, that's what I walk away thinking. I like that because I've been to gyms and they don't talk. Nobody will talk to you. Having to know that I can walk up to the reception or an area where you can chill out and have a drink and speak to somebody, and they take the time to turn around and have a chat with you, even if they're busy, that means a lot. Because as a member, I will stay.
You feel welcomed.
I feel part of something. I'm less likely to walk away and look for something else. Because what do we look for? We're not looking for additional equipment because most equipment's the same. We're looking for a connection, that human connection, to be part of something.
I think the community aspect of it is so often understated and how important it is the gym. And I think I have heard the kind of comeback, if you want to call it a comeback, that like, oh yeah, but like I walk, like every time I say hello, just like no one looks up, everyone's got their headphones on, they just walk straight in the gym. And it's like, those people exist and those people will always do that. They're never going to not do that. That's just who they are. And I think it's better to do something and have no effect rather than just kind of assume. And I guess it's that negative mindset of, oh, well, there's no point. Whereas actually you think if it's what affects one person and it takes no effort, then it's worth doing. And I think, is that something that, I guess, community, and is that something that's done a lot within business in terms of building that family? And
yes, it is. And, if you think about the businesses that you've visited, it's that, even the gatekeeper, what the gatekeepers, the people who blocks you from getting through any sales, even they will present you with a happy smile.
Yeah.
Till they know who you are. Okay. Which is not a negative. If you're trying to sell into them, the gatekeeper's there to block you, but also there to pick up the phone and say, hi, I'm James, how are you? And then it's your job to get past me. But if you're asking me for advice and assistance, I'm going to support you. If you're part of the business, I'm going to be with you because we're part of the family, aren't we? So when people walk into a gym and they're members, it's not, you should never think it's beneath you, or I hope that's not the case, or I can't be bothered, because in sales, which is what we've trained in, if 10 people say no, that's on them, isn't it?
You want away from it, yes.
Yeah. And as long as you maintain your composure and you're still happy and you're still positive, the next person will say yes. And because we are customer facing, it's our role, regardless of what goes on inside, to be the best version of you, because they are the customer and they're paying for you to be there. And we must make them feel welcome. And if we make them feel welcome, even if these people might be having a bad day, but they'll still think, oh, Toby or James, I didn't said hello. And they might think about that several days later. And then they go, oh, how are you? Eventually they will notice, but it's that keeps them there.
Is there, do you reckon there's a point actually? I mean, I don't really know, but is there where obviously the people that walk in with their headphones and they don't say anything, and if you keep saying hello to them, is there a point where they probably start feeling guilty and they're kind of, oh, hi?
It's possible. I can't answer for every person, but in, human nature, it's at some point we will recognize that and acknowledge it, because remember, somebody walking in the gym with the headphones on, they're probably getting into their focus and they may not see you. As long as you're not going up to them every 5 minutes and saying, hello, and I said hello to you. When they walk into the gym, acknowledge that. Hi, thank you. If they don't acknowledge you, it doesn't matter. You've done your job. Somebody else will see you do that. And they go, that's really nice. That is. I like that. And they'll talk about that. On leaving, I've seen people at the gym say bye to people, thank you and bye. I think I've in fact seen you. Yeah, that's the person behind the camera, not the cameraman will. I've seen you do this. Elliot as well, not missing out any others, but I've noticed there's certain people that do it all the time. And that resonates with me because I think it's important to do two things: welcome them in and thank them on the way out. Because on the way out, they're probably not even got the headphones on, they're out of the focus, and then they're walking out, and we thank them for that. Could even invite them over for a protein shake.
That's very true. Yeah, upselling. But I mean, to be honest, the fact that you named specifically Will and Elliot, was it? The fact that you named those two specifically because you noticed them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not to say that no one else is doing it, but you noticed them doing it, and now you're talking about them, and we are forcing you on a podcast, which is probably not the most normal situation.
I'm not saying nobody else does it. It's just that,
But that's the thing, is it? Obviously, it's that you notice it because it has an effect. And I think subconsciously, even if I feel like you are a very observant person as a rule, and I think that's probably not that unfair to say, but I think actually even subconsciously, I think people kind of do take this information in, and it's when you get asked it later, you're like, oh yeah, they did do that actually. And you don't, just because you're not thinking about it right now doesn't mean you didn't kind of retain the information.
What we've got to remember is that it's not just, if somebody's got the headphones on and listening to music, that's not the only sense that's working. They will have noticed maybe at the corner of their eye. Okay, we all see this, or we just feel it. For example, I've got a feeling that somebody said it. Even if they've got headphones on, the acknowledgement, thank you. The thumb up, we all know that's an international sign of thank. Some like it, some don't. But it's like thank you, and it's just that acknowledgement. And like you say, it's at some point it will register with people. As long as we do it, then that's okay. We've done it.
As a member,
yes,
and it's quite a unique kind of perspective that you have, I think, because you're a member in the gym, you're a customer, but then also you do kind of have this knowledge of how a business operates, and not kind of, you do have this knowledge, and I think it's interesting. What would it take for you? So let's say, we were talking about this. Sorry, I was speaking about this before, but let's say the Fit Club has a new program where you get your DNA swab test and it gives you all your biometrics and that kind of readings about what you're suffering from. For things like that, I'm hoping you don't just go, oh, I'd buy that. But like, what would it take in order for you to kind of upsell, you specifically to take on board a new package or a new kind of span-angled technology that people are implementing in the gym? And I ask this because wellness and longevity is a huge thing in the gym at the moment.
Absolutely.
Aesthetics and red light therapy. And as a member, what interests you in that kind of stuff? What would interest you to get involved in it?
When you mention the swap, all that comes to mind at the moment is digital ID and the mistrust outside of here. So for things like me, I think it's great to understand what's going on in here. I also think it's about trust on who we share that information with. So if the gym is going to say to you, look, we're going to do this, we're going to swab your mouth, and the first thing into mind is, oh, where's that information going?
Fair.
How's it being stored? What type of medical professionals are you selling my data? And the reason that we think that is because we're programmed to think like that. We're not programmed to think about the actual health benefits of that. So if I push that aside and think, right, okay, that's the negative because that's learned behavior. That's what we've been taught in the news.
Mm-hmm.
So now park it and come back and go, right, okay, I think it's a great idea what you're talking about. I'm going to park that there. Tell me a little bit more about this. Let's talk about the benefits to me and share with me how it's being stored, how long for, and what we can do with the final outcomes in 12 months. And them the type of questions that I would ask. And then you'd probably go away thinking, right, okay, because it's always about what's in it for me. Now, what's in it for me is that if you can identify ailments, not as a doctor, but ailments that could be fixed, maybe through physio, for example. We've identified this. What we will recommend from a health perspective is you carry out these types of exercises, and we've got people in rooms within the gym that can do that. Some gyms won't have this facility. However, if you could share information with people and then say, right, okay, we could recommend this, this, and this. Yeah. We could recommend a nutrition plan. We could recommend doing these types of exercises. So the benefits are massive, absolutely massive. And I think now is a great time to start buying into them. But it's based on two things. It's data cost, because now you're paying something additional to your gym membership. And could there be other costs involved?
I think a big overarching maybe that includes those two things is like trust. And actually it's trust in the data and actually like trust that you're not overcharging me, I guess, if I'm trying to link them together. But how do you kind of broach these conversations? And I think it's cold calling. Personally, I did like door-to-door sales and the cold calling, and it can be pretty nerve-wracking if you had like a break for 20 minutes. Once you're in the flow state, it's fine. But if that break and then you start again, it's like, oh, I've got to make that phone call, and you have a bit of a sick feeling. How would you, for gym owners, to like approach people?
I think that you've got to do is, and this is absolute facts, is if you've got to, we talked about this earlier, you've got to set your day. If you're going to make 20 calls, okay, then look at your first one and not your 20th. Think about that conversation, because your first conversation may not go too well because you're going to fluff it, aren't you? That's the conversation that's going to solidify the rest. The conversation will get better and better and better as you go on. Okay, so it's about being honest with yourself. And if the conversation doesn't go too well, always thank them for their time. Make your notes, thank them for the time. If I were to call you again, how would you like to approach the conversation? Now we're going back to the 80-20. How would you like to approach the conversation? Because this is about you, isn't it? It's not about me.
Yeah.
I'm selling you a service that's predominantly about you. How would you like to approach the conversation? They may close the conversation down, or they may continue that. We make some more notes. You then reset yourself on your next call. It's always, you got to reset yourself, because every single call is different. And why is that? Because you're calling somebody else. It's as simple as that. It's not the same as the last. And even if you've had an amazing call, take that energy with you, but manage it. Don't go too high, don't go too low. Ask the same questions.
And I think it definitely, if you're in a bad mood, just don't even bother, because I think it just translates straight across. People can tell for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that everybody, we all have our moments.
Oh yeah.
And some people manage theirs more than others. But absolutely no way make that call if you aren't feeling great. Take yourself away from the environment, get yourself a refreshment, breathe, talk to somebody, reset. It's really important to reset yourself and go back with a fresh perspective and think about the positives rather than what may have just happened, and move forward with that. If you're having a bad day, then then you really need to sort of like rethink and just sort of like start on a good note.
I mean, yeah, and just rest as well.
Yeah,
I think
rest is important.
it's recovery and just actually respect. Recovery is as important as the workout as well. I mean, in terms of, I feel like we've covered a pretty holistic approach of looking internally, looking 360, looking at people, like how to communicate with people. What would be I'm trying to think how to word this properly. What would be the like key things to consider as a gym owner? The most important things to maybe focus on, and if you can't say one specific thing, how do you decide that yourself?
In sales, we always think about the why, don't we? It's, you know, why do you want to be a member of the gym? What are you looking for? And it all goes back to pricing. People are always thinking about price, but we want to come away from that. We want to say, you know, what is it? We want to ask these people, what do you want? And what does that look like? Really important, because I tend to ask those questions very close together. What do you want? I'll give you a couple of seconds to think about that, because you won't know the answer to it. And what does that look like? You're more likely to think about what it looks like, because I want to be like really fit for my holiday. You know, when is that? Okay, so we've got a timeline now. So now we've got something to work with. Fantastic. So what we're doing is ask the right questions, but make it about them rather than about you, because it's going to come back to you eventually. Because what's happening is, once we understand them, we can say, right, okay, this is the journey we can craft for you. Let's take a look at it. Then we can invite them into the gym and say, right, okay, let's take a look at your journey. So now we're selling that to them. But if we don't find out what their want is, or their why, find their pain points. Look at their pain points. Yeah, and turn them into real positives. Fear is going to be a biggest pain point for most people. They want to join the gym, but they're scared. Why are they scared?
And in that situation, I feel like it's you chuck a PT session on. I think if you can, if you can add value that also marries up with the expectations that they have, I think that's kind of the way of doing it. And that something came to mind when you were speaking then. It was KISS.
Oh yeah,
keep it simple, stupid. Is there another one? Keep it simple.
There's loads that you can use, but it's whatever you feel's best for you in a circumstance.
But I think that the questions that you ask, keep them really simple, and just yes, like not yes or no, keep them open as well. I think that's an important thing. But I think sales, you've kind of made me not realize. I think I knew it already, but I think sales actually is like you picture Wolf of Wall, not you specifically, but you picture Wolf of Wall Street or something like that when you say sales, and you picture a guy on the phone scamming someone. And actually, I did it in a video on upselling as well, and it can come across maybe to some people as a bit scammy or as a bit like forceful. And actually, it really, really doesn't have to be. It is just a case of asking the right questions, keeping them simple, making it so you're not burning someone's brain out, and just like finding out information about them, because that's how you know what they want is.
Well, this is a people business, isn't it? I mean, I know you said KISS being keep it simple, stupid. We don't want to call people stupid.
No, definitely don't do that.
We just use the word KISS. But what we want to do here is we stick with the 80-20 rule. And if nobody out there understands what that is, you can research it online. It's the, getting the customer to do 80% of the research or 80% of the response, and you asking 20% of the questions, and have set questions that you can encourage into conversation. And I always say, you can start those questions with, how are you feeling today? Listen to people when you're out there that ask, how are you feeling? You walk into a store, how are you? We hear that a lot, but we could say, hey, in the gym, think about the environment. How are you feeling? They may be feeling anxious. They may be feeling nervous. You've got to think about all the things that, if you were a non-gym goer customer, what would your fears be? Not knowing how to use equipment, not knowing what food to eat, not knowing about anything. Yeah. And most of these people, when they come there, they may not know. And yet everything is there online, but they've not looked. So they are dependent on you. So for us in the gym, our job, we've got to be a parent to them. Yeah. We've got to teach them everything. We've got to coach them. We've got to train them. We've got to nurture them and look after them. And even though they haven't said that, that's what we do when they come to the gym.
That's like that is it really. That's
different hats.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you want to be a parent in the family as well. But I think that it's the community aspect of it that's so overlooked, because actually the community aspect helps you get more members in the club. It helps the members stay for longer. It means the members are actually spending more money in there. Like all of that stuff, and just actually asking the questions and caring and looking after people and actually just putting that extra mile in. That's all so important. And I think sometimes we get so focused on that number of member count that we don't necessarily focus on actually like, how can we improve the experience that these members are having? Because they won't be there forever. And I think it's the important thing to do.
You think about it. If you look at, let's say people out there look at your gym and think about what does it look like, and watch people. I like to watch people and watch where they move in the gym, watch how they move. And some people will move in the same direction every day and miss certain equipment because they're not walking in that direction, because they're following a path that they always follow, an habitual path. So let me think about, okay, so how can we change the movement, change the thinking? Now, obviously at Fit Club, you've put an area in there where you put some seats, and now people can sit down. Previously they would go in, train, go. Now you've got a social aspect of it, which brings the community feel in. So now people have got the ability to talk more.
And the positioning of it as well.
And the position of it as well.
The nutrition bar.
Absolutely. So, we've got the ability to upsell not just goods or any goods that's going to benefit these people. They're on display so that you can see those goods and you can ask questions about what's the benefit of that? How does that work for me? See, those conversations, what's amazing is the staff behind the reception area are qualified and understanding enough to be able to share with you what each of those products do. And they all have health benefits, don't they? So you've got a community spirit in the gym that now they're actually learning something.
I think
for £1 a day.
That's very true. It's great value, actually. I think the education side of it. I think we'll round it off on this, because I think actually you have really covered everything, and it's this has been great. But I think the educational side of it is so important. And how do you broach? Because I guess it's a kind of sales in a way. And I guess how do you broach the subject of educating your members without like literally just going up to them and being like, oh, look at this, X, Y, Z, and showcasing it? Is there a way of like subtly educating people and drip feeding that education?
Now, this goes back to words, doesn't it? Using words like here to help. And those words or those conversation pieces always prompt, what do you mean by that? If we say here to help, what does that mean? You can use language like that to say you're here to help. You may have, you may even have a poster in the gym that tells you what a specific machine does. And that could be randomized. You can move them around. I've seen that in some of the gyms. It tells you the benefits of a particular type of equipment. Nobody knows the benefit of a particular type of equipment unless they search online. Or you can engage in conversation with people. How's your training going today? Yeah. Is there anything that you'd like to learn more about? Now that's suggestive, because you haven't asked me if you want to learn about something. I've said to you, is there anything else?
It is fascinating. And I think I would genuinely recommend to anyone there's a couple nuggets of things that you've said that are kind of actionable right away. And you can kind of, if you go out to the shop now, or if you go out to the cafe or wherever, and if you kind of just trial a few of these things, and if you trial it 10, 20 times, you'll notice that you get some pretty like interesting responses or interesting reactions. And it's sales is so usable in every single aspect of life. And it can be used nefariously, but I genuinely think it's actually just a way of finding out more interesting information, or just learning more about people, or appearing more interesting to other people. It's really interesting.
There's a couple of, and I know you're looking to finish now, but there's a couple of things we can say to open conversation breaks day. And those conversations is, I could approach you. You may have finished your training, or you might be walking past, or you're at the water machine and say, I noticed you training over there, looking amazing. Yeah, as a trainer, obviously as a customer I wouldn't do that, but as a trainer or somebody who works in the gym, you go, your training's looking amazing. Is there any support that we could offer you?
As a customer, yeah, that'd be very
Yeah, it would look kind of weird.
Excuse me?
But if you work in the gym, you could actually say this to people, because they would welcome that. You imagine somebody that works in the gym or a trainer walking up to you as a customer and saying, I've noticed your training. It's looking really good, really impressed. What support would you like from me? Suggestive language. What support would you like from me? A trainer or someone in the gym has walked up to you as a customer and said that to you, and that was free. That is just going to open up a whole new journey, because now that person before that happened weren't thinking about this. Like, oh, you're giving me support. What's 5 minutes of your time to give some advice? This is a great machine. You can offer them an additional machine. This is also a great machine that complements that. And you don't need, that's another journey. So what you're doing is you're upselling, you're offering, you're educating. When you're educating, you're building their focus, strengthening their focus, and you're bringing them closer and closer and closer to personal training without them knowing it.
All for £1 a day.
For £1.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's good value. And actually it is. It's because actually you're paying that £1 a day, but you're getting free PTing, and you're technically for 5 minutes, you've had a free PT. And that kind of taster, as you say, is what sucks you into it. And getting those free tasters and that added value, you don't have to just discount things and give away stuff. It's probably the worst thing you could do, because it devalues the membership, or devalues being a part of it. The added value is what makes you think, actually, you know what, I'm getting really good value for what I'm paying.
Look at Luke. I think he's got, is it 15 years experience in personal training? Yeah. Longer than that. So I book him as a personal trainer, and Luke's phenomenal. He looks phenomenal, and he trains really well. And I think I've had 29 sessions with him now. But my point there is that what I've learned from him, not just about my body and how to train, but from is it educated me. This is stuff that I wouldn't have learned. And I don't mean you have to pay for a personal trainer to learn that. You just need to talk to people in the gym that work there, and people in the gym to talk to you as a customer and say, we can give you 20 years experience. We can give you 10 years, 15 or whatever for your £1 a day.
Yeah.
That's massive. You can't get that anywhere outside of a gym.
And I guess my final question then will be, you've had 29 sessions with Luke.
Yeah.
What's kept you going? Do you feel like still every day you're being educated, or is there something else that's kind of...
It's the best money I've ever spent, and I'm spending that outside of the gym, and not everybody can commit to that, that financial commitment. But for me, I've been in the gym for many, many years. And what I recognized is that I wasn't achieving because I had no focus. And this takes us back to the start of the conversation. You've got to have a focus, have a plan. What do you want to achieve? Is it fitness? Is it health? Do you, wealth? Wealth is health, isn't it?
Yeah.
And whatever it is, plan for that. Get advice from people in the gym. It's really, really important. But for me, what keeps me there is his progress. What I've done is that I've worked with Luke, and I've learned so much about my body and how to train. I've transformed myself in, I think it's 4 months now. I've achieved more in 4 months than I did in 4 years. And that's because I'm speaking to somebody who's qualified. I'm connected with somebody in the gym. I feel part of the gym. And I can't get out of the gym now. I'm there all the time, I think. But, it's become part of my life now. But what I see is, when I look in the mirror, I see a different version of me. And I really like that.
Yeah.
And that's because of what I've learned, not just what I've achieved.
I think, if you really want to boil it down to a simple point, and I guess it's kind of the whole thing we've been trying to say this whole time, but you found your want, and now you have been a member at the Fit Club, and you've had 29 sessions, and that's because you found that one want at the start. And if there's one takeaway from that, I feel like it probably is that. I mean, but there's hundreds of takeaways.
Yeah, but that's a good takeaway. I found my want.
Yeah, for sure. James, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. See you soon.